sponsored drag events as the governor works to remove what he calls wokeness from college campuses. Saunders had been president of the university since 2017. Our rain chances start to go down today in northeast Florida as a cold front will move further south. That'll help to dry us out. We do have the chance for rain, though, later on this morning and during the afternoon hours. Otherwise, we'll be mostly sunny with highs reaching the low to mid 80s. Overnight, lows drop down into the low to mid 60s inland and warmer closer to the coast. Overall, we'll have dry conditions tomorrow and Thursday, with temperatures warming up as the week goes on. Temps expected to be in the low to mid 90s by Thursday.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Lilly Endowment, a private foundation supporting NPR's coverage of religion and spirituality, and Jarl and Pamela Mohn, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, a local probe into a gun registry at some city buildings deepens the partisan divide in local politics. We talk about that with others and other city headlines with Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. Later in the program, music and mental wellness. A millennial mental health advocacy group tackles both at an upcoming concert. But first, another month down, amazingly. It's May and back for our monthly Ask the Mayor segment. I seem to be all tangled this morning. Good morning, Donna Deegan.
Listen, it happens. Good morning, Ann. How are you?
I'm great. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming. I want to start just with kind of a lighter subject because we're hearing a lot these days about Travis Hunter. He's the new two-way player for the Jags. You're a pretty big Jags fan.
Huge Jags fan.
I want your thoughts. And have you had a chance to meet him?
I did. I met him the first day the Jags brought him into town. He's just a delightful young man, and I'd give him a little bit of grief because he initially had committed to Florida State.
Right.
I said, I want you to know, you were in the doghouse with me at first, but you've redeemed yourself today. He was very gracious and fun, and it sounds like he's just full of personality, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does on the team.
It sounds like it's going to really spark just some enthusiasm, some interest for people who are just dying to sort of see him in action.
It's so funny, Ann. The fan as fans, we're all the same, right? We get to, well, how dare we not make the playoffs? And okay, I'm gonna rip up my, and then the second that the new season starts, or we get a great player, or we're all just full of optimism again, and I just love it. It's just the nature of being a fan. But people are truly excited, and I personally hope for Trevor Lawrence that he has the additional weapon that he needs. That's going to be quite the 1-2 punch with him and BTJ, I think.
Yeah. Well, hope springs eternal for the Jaguars.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Less fun topic. So this has been generating a lot of heat, and not just locally, but from some state politicians, including the governor. This is this gun registry that the state attorney, Melissa Nelson, is investigating as to whether the city has been keeping illegally logs of gun owners' information at city buildings. I know that you've provided some information. Your office has provided information to the state attorney as this investigation is ongoing. What can you tell us about any of the latest that you're hearing about this? I know that a number of former city staffers, current city staffers have been asked to provide some information and have been subpoenaed.
Yeah, I can honestly tell you the same things that I have told you, Ann, because we're respecting the state attorney's investigation. We're going to let her do her job and have full faith and confidence in that. But I will simply say again that we are complying with everything that we're being asked to do. There's a great volume of information that we've been asked to provide, emails and communications and things, and we're providing all that. This directive was written before I came into office. I'll say that again. It was written before I came into office, before I was sworn in, and we know that from documentation. So we don't know how long before that was under discussion. But apparently it was simply sent from a city employee to a security firm. And beyond that, we have to wait for the investigation to find out what else happened. I can simply tell you it never made it to my level, never made it to me. And as soon as I found out about it, we stopped the practice. And we've now put some proactive steps into place to make sure that we're aware of any former procedure or policy that we might not have been aware of, and we're going to continue to move forward with making sure that the proper checks and balances are there, so that our basically what we're doing is we are asking our city departments to put together all policies and procedures, and we're gonna check those against state law, um, because obviously most policies and procedures would have been implemented before I came into office. Um, so we're going to make sure that we're all on the same page there, and then just make sure that they follow the steps up the chain that need to be followed before anything is changed.
How much of this is, political? I mean, I know that you say that this was created before you took office, and the reporting has shown that this policy change was drafted prior to when you were sworn in.
Yeah, and it really, we called it a policy change, but really it was simply a directive for a practice for the security company. That's really what it was. It wasn't a policy necessarily. It was this is the step that we're going to take to comply with this new law. I think that was that my supposition from simply what I know, what I've seen, is that this new law was going to go into place. I guess there was a response from the security folks, of here's how we're going to try to keep people safe. I don't, from
And this
what
was a new law that basically was allowing people who were carrying concealed weapons into city buildings, and not that they were allowed to carry those.
right,
Previously, they had not been.
right, and so it looks like just a response to that, but we're not going to know till the investigation is complete, and we are certainly happy to wait on the results of that, and feel like that's the respectful thing to do.
And then I should ask as well, because there has been some reporting since this about the city's hiring of the Bedell law firm, which has a connection to your general counsel, Michael Fackler. There's like kind of a father-in-law relationship with one of the principals of that law firm.
Mhm.
Are you comfortable that that hiring process is aligned with all state and local requirements that ask for either disclosure or some sort of allowance if somebody is related to somebody in a contracted company?
Well, the general counsel is the general counsel for the whole city. He is a separate and equal branch of basically of the government. So, what I was told, because I asked about this, assuming you would ask, is that was run up through both local and state ethics, and was approved. So, I don't have any reason to doubt that.
All right. We are talking to Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan, and if you'd like to join the conversation, you can give us a call with a question or comment at 904-549-2937. You can email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org, or you can reach out on social media, and find us at FCC On Air. We've got a call from Douglas in Mandarin. Good morning, Douglas. Go ahead.
Good morning. I called in about 2 months ago for the monthly mayor meetup, and I'm on Cordial Drive in Mandarin by Greenland Road and Phillips Highway, and we have one of the 4.3 miles of unpaved roads that are owned by the city, and we have gargantuan potholes that completely fill up with water, and the street's like undrivable. And I had heard that I would get a call back, but I've left several messages with the mayor's office over the last 2 months, and haven't gotten any kind of return call about.
Well,
getting.
I am very sorry to hear that, because I specifically remember your call, and I remember asking that be addressed. So I want to, if you would not mind, I don't want to take his information.
Yeah, we can get it off the air.
If I can get your phone number off the air, I will personally follow up on that today.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Lot of folks, especially when it comes to, this is what people are interested in, and that's what they mostly want to talk about. When are you going to pave my roads? When are you going to make sure it doesn't flood anymore? When are you going to make sure that it's safer for my community? Those are the things that I think that people really want to know. And I'm sorry that call was never returned from my office, but we'll make sure that it is.
Okay. Well, Douglas is back on hold, and we can get his number and you can contact him. We've got a call from Yasmina in Arlington. Good morning, Yasmina. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much, Mayor Donna Deegan, for being so bold and still putting yourself out there to be accessible to your citizens. So I first want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
The point of my call today is really to see if you have any interest in creating a child care task force. There's so many families our day and age that are struggling to find affordable, quality child care, and I believe that that would be something that is prudent to your citizens of today in terms of just being able to know that that's front of mind and that you identify that this is something that many people are impacted by.
Listen, I think it's a great idea, and we've had many of these discussions. If you're someone who would like to be involved in something like that, I would love to speak with you. It certainly is an issue for a lot of families, and I think it is. It does make a lot of sense that it's something that we could address on a city level.
All right. Thanks, Yasmina. I want to ask you about a story that was reported a little earlier this week by the Jacksonville Daily Record, Project Bluebird. This is something that involves an aircraft manufacturer. It could conceivably bring a lot of work to the city, as many as 1,200
Yep.
workers earning significant wages. But one that, according to the Daily Record, could also involve a pretty big pile of city incentives. They were saying that the manufacturer is seeking about $430 million incentives for a $430 million production facility, rather.
Yeah, but not they're not asking us for $430 million, and thank goodness. No, what we have been told about this, and there are some things that I don't feel like I can really talk about in terms of this so far, but I will say this. What we are hearing is that what they are primarily looking for is rev grants. So they're
And
getting.
remind us what those are, because not everybody knows that
Well,
basically that's a
it's
tax.
basically a tax break, is
Mhm.
what it is.
Um,
Doesn't come out of the general fund,
right.
is the big thing. And then the other piece is I believe they are getting some help from the state on that as well. So I don't think this is going to be anything that's going to give people a lot of heartburn, but something with a whole lot of upside for the city in terms of jobs and technology.
Yeah. I mean, ref grants are very useful to the city in that way, but I've been thinking about those lately a lot in terms of downtown development, because you start to have these projects that come online and they're, built and they're beautiful and they're presumably going to bring some additional activity downtown and some, enthusiasm for downtown, but they won't be a revenue source in terms of being like producing property taxes for the city for sometimes all
Well, in terms of
decades.
and those taxes would largely stay downtown, right? So what really is the big incentive with those is that it creates more, as you said, more activity, more business for for all of our business owners. It creates a destination or whatever it is that comes up. The idea is to bring that development downtown, and ultimately, obviously, those buildings will come on the tax rolls. But there are so many other benefits to having all of that development going on that you have to say what's the end game here, and the end game is create the city that we all would like to see with the amenities that folks would like to have and the ability to live, work, and play downtown, as we say.
All right. We've got a call from Mrs. Green in St. Johns County. Good morning. Go ahead.
Hi, Mayor Deegan. Question for you. So, as it relates to the new jail, from my understanding, roughly 70% of the occupants in the downtown jail have not been convicted of a crime, i.e., these are people who primarily just can't afford to be bonded out. So, my question is it really good business to invest nearly $1 billion in a new jail when 70% of your occupants aren't even convicted criminals?
Well, I can't confirm that number. I don't know that number. That would be a question for the sheriff. But I will say that we are a growing city with a need for more than just jail space. It's important that we create the other amenities around the jail that really we don't have right now that I think are really necessary to making sure that we provide people with what they need. Even incarcerated people need services like mental health services. The whole idea behind the jail, in addition to having enough space and to frankly moving the jail off of what is a very desirable piece of property downtown, is it's not a building right now that's a particularly healthy building. We don't want people in a building that has mold or has other problems. It isn't big enough, and we want other facilities like youth facilities and mental health facilities and other things. In my discussions with the sheriff, really it comes down to how can we best provide what the citizens of this community need? And certainly, you don't like to hear a number like that, but at the end of the day, when people are arrested, they have to go someplace until they're processed and moved on. So we are a big city. We need a jail. Every city is going to have a jail facility, and ours is frankly just outlived its useful life. We are going to be looking at whatever proposals come in to see how we can do that in the most economical way for the city, and we'll move forward from there.
And, to her point, I mean, obviously a lot of people in jail are waiting adjudication, they're
Sure,
waiting a trial, and so
absolutely.
they haven't been convicted of anything.
That's a whole additional conversation, I think, truly, because there are so many ways in which that can be addressed, but it doesn't negate the fact that we need a jail facility.
Right. Some areas have gone through this process of considering or implementing getting rid of cash bail, which is basically like if you aren't, being charged with a truly violent crime, and a danger to the community, that you're given an opportunity to basically report, on your own. What do they call it? On your
Yeah, on your own recognizance. Yes.
right. And so, some places have tried that out. It's been kind of controversial because, very often it means, for instance, if somebody was involved in an assault on their neighbor,
Hmm.
that wouldn't necessarily rise to
Yeah.
that level, so they could just be, returned home. And it hasn't always worked out well. Has there ever been any serious discussion here that you know of for that kind of exploration, getting rid of the traditional bail bond system?
I think there has been discussion. I don't think that it is something at this point that has really gotten any sort of real positive attention from our from the sheriff or from the state attorney. But I'm sure those discussions are ongoing. Um, there's always got to be discussion on how we can be most efficient in those scenarios and how we can be fairest to people who are incarcerated. And I'm sure those discussions will be going on.
The city recently opened a new process, a civil review process, and it's sort of one of those, like, we used to call it boring but important topics,
Yes.
because I don't think people necessarily think, civil review, we're starting a new process, but it actually could have some major impacts for people who are trying to get business done in the city. Explain, if you can, just kind of what civil review is and what this is going to do to try to impact
Well,
how quickly that moves.
it basically covers the horizontal elements of construction projects like water and sewer lines, drainage and roadways and parking and some of those sorts of things. But um, what we have heard over and over again from the development community is that permitting is too slow. And we started off with residential housing and have really gone now to the more commercial residential. Um, we had a number of conversations with Tony Slayman, who, as you know, has been a developer in our city for a very long time, and he said, "Gosh, I've been trying to get people to look at this civil review process for a long time. If we could look at perhaps bringing in outside professionals that could do some of this work, it would make the process move faster." So that's under review right now. We're trying to digitize things like we've done with the other permitting and other processes in the city so much. In fact, everything pretty much when we came in was paper. And so we're working towards getting things. I know it's crazy, right? In this day and age, we're working toward getting everything digitized and as part of Jack's Epics. But eliminating the paper is a big deal. And then we're looking also at an express lane that would allow a developer to pay an additional fee to move through the process faster, to get a review in a more timely manner.
Just like Disney.
Yeah, just like Disney, or just like your fast pass in the car. We're looking at all those things, but the bottom line is time is money, and if we want these development deals to move through, and we do. What we've seen happen in the past is they've taken so long that people have said, "Hey, we've got to back out, or we have to start over." We don't want that anymore. So we're excited to work with our development community to make this a more streamlined process. And we were really excited to release that 8-point program that is going into implementation now.
Question from Kelly via email. She says, "Hi, I've heard that all the Jacksonville parks are getting a makeover. That's great. What are you doing with all the old equipment?" And then she says, "Go Jags."
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. What we're doing with all the old equipment. Did she? I wonder if she has a particular use she's hoping for that. I don't know.
I don't know. She can email in, I guess, if she's got a follow up on that. And I would guess a lot of the stuff that's being phased out probably is
Probably
beyond its
old
useful
stuff.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably so. But yeah, we're really proud of our parks. We want to continue to to invest in those. We're proud of our park system here, and in addition to all the attention the riverfront parks get, we're just excited about making sure that all of the parks in Jacksonville are places where families want to go and spend time.
Yeah, but Kelly, if you want one of those hot old metal slides that, burn you when you go down.
Yeah,
I
not
guess-
me.
Yeah.
I'm good.
We got a call from Rick on the north side. Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, good morning, Mayor and everyone. I was calling just a quick question. Dunn Avenue and Harts Road, they're doing some major construction. My only question is, when you go on your sign where it says coj.net, it doesn't tell you what they're doing on Harts Road, nor is there any signs letting us know what's being taken place and how long. So that would be my question. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the call. We have started a brand new process that we really started to draw attention to everything that was going on downtown, but then also expanded that for what the projects that we're doing all over the city called I Dig Jacks. We want every community to know that we're proud of Jacksonville and the things that we're doing to improve it, and we want them to take pride in their community. So in a perfect world, when you go on to that site, you'll see what's happening on those construction sites. So I'll make sure that I add that one to the list of ones that we can put information on.
All right. Thank you for the call, Rick. Another new initiative that you kind of rolled out in the last couple weeks was this new small business incubator that is in the Brentwood neighborhood, and the first of what is planned, I guess, 4 total of these.
That's right.
Yeah. So what is it that this is going to do that the Jacksonville Small Business program is not able to do?
Well, look, what we really wanted to do was to go into the heart of Brentwood, where we know there are a lot of small business people, and they have asked for help for many years. We need tools. Some of us don't have transportation to get certain places. We need to make sure that we are providing the tools for small businesses to make sure that in those critical first years and after, that they can succeed, not just be developed, but succeed. So that center is going to make sure that it provides, workforce development, training, all the things that a small business person would need to be successful. And then that, because it's right there, it's there for follow-up too. That's really an important piece of this. It's not just that you provide the training, but you're there with experts to provide the follow-up, because it's in the follow-up that a lot of small businesses fail. So
Can
I
you
think
walk through a little bit how that would work? Like, for instance, if I've got a home cake baking business, that I want to sort of scale or create a brick and mortar, facility for, and I come into that center, what is it that what awaits me? What is it that they could provide? What do they need from me as a person that's interested in starting a small business or getting that support?
Well, I couldn't tell you the exact steps that take place, but what we've been told by our JSEB providers, or by Greg Grant and the folks that run that center, is that there are so many steps that take place after you've created your small business. So you get your initial steps done, but then have you created the type of a business plan that is necessary for you to succeed? You'd be amazed at how many small business people, it's not just automatic that people know how to create a successful business plan. The folks there will help them to create a successful small business plan, and then walk them through that. Here are your marks that you want to hit. Here's what you need to keep track of, and then help them in that process. Here's the training that you need. Here's the follow-up that you need. So I think that any small business person needs to learn those tools, just like anybody who's starting anything new. But what we know is that many small businesses fail within the first year that they are created. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they haven't put those essential plans in place and had the follow-up that they need.
Are they going to be able to help secure some financing? Is that another thing that they can provide, or is it more just advice?
Well, we've done that in other ways with other city programs, and I know there's also I believe there's a chamber program that does that as well. But I would say for our part, this is more about making sure that people have the training that they need. Now, I will say that we've increased the number of JSEBs by 30%. And added $22 million in contracts to them through the city this year. So we are helping them to succeed by making sure we're hiring those small businesses. We've created $2 million in micro grants, for businesses. But a lot of this has to do with providing the support and the training that's needed, and even job seekers who come in, not just small business people who are seeking job training, specific jobs that they want to work toward. We have that training as well within that center, and there'll be one at the main library, the Phoenix Arts and Entertainment District, and also at Cecil Commerce Center that'll be coming online in the coming months.
And that facility itself, it was built to be a liquor store. That was very controversial. Now it's going to be this small business incubator. What is it that the community has settled on? I mean, are they satisfied now? Because there was, some concern. They'd wanted it to be a community center rather than this small business incubator.
Yeah.
Are you able to work with them towards that? Has there been any resolution in terms of how they feel about its use?
Yeah, I met with Lydia Bell and her group that is focused on this weeks ago. We're going to meet actually again this afternoon, and continue to try to work towards something that will benefit them. But I will say that we determined with this building itself that 3,000 square feet was just really not the size of what you would need for a community center. You really need 15,000 square feet or more for a community center. You've got half a mile down the road, the library, which does have room right now for community meetings. That will be scheduled for a renovation at some point. It's in the CIP. But I know she has some other ideas, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk through those. We want the community to be happy. We felt by listening to the business community that it was incredibly important to them to have this resource, and we felt the size of the building was perfect for that. So hopefully we'll continue to work toward a solution with her and that group.
We've got a call from Lisa on the west side. Good morning, Lisa. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Donna. Thanks for everything you're trying to do. I just wanted to express a little disappointment in the fact that we won't have one long park along the riverfront, St. Johns River riverfront, with development behind it. So many people are disappointed along with me, and it looks like we're somehow making a swap with some organization for the University of Florida deal that's going on. I just am sorry that we can't be like some of these other major cities that have huge riverfront parks that bring in the people like you were talking about earlier, and then they frequent the private businesses behind the parks. So that was all. I just wanted to express that disappointment because it sounds like it might be a done deal.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, nothing's ever a done deal till it's a done deal. But I will say that this plan that we're currently discussing with the swap goes right in line with that Perkins and Will design that everybody agreed to. It's not the big, monstrous, tall building that people were very opposed to, and it does provide some amenities for the public in it. I think it's really important when we look at these spaces. There's so much green space, that wonderful playground, the wonderful green space closer over to where the symphony is, and there's green space all along the riverfront, Metro Park, and all of the things that are going to be there. But we have heard over and over again how important it is to activate these spaces. In other words, have people who are living there, have amenities that draw people in so that these parks are activated with people on a regular basis. And I think it makes sense, but also it's the design that was initially agreed to.
To Lisa's point, though, does that land swap that's being proposed for that Riverfront Plaza area impair the ability to kind of access along the
Not
full
at all.
waterfront?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, it's set back from the waterfront. You have the playground. You have all the access points along the water. You have the continuous river walk that goes all the way down, and then all of that connects to the Emerald Trail, which is miles and miles and miles of green space. So we are not going light on the green space. That is a priority for me too, and I think this is
So it'll still be an accessible. It just may not be all of it a parkland, but it would still be the water.
It's a very small parcel compared to the rest of the park there.
But it doesn't interrupt the Riverwalk, I guess.
It does not interrupt the Riverwalk in any way.
All right, thanks for clarity on that. One question from Tom on the west side is probably the last one we could do. Tom, just briefly.
Yes, actually a comment. I just wanted to say that any new amenities that are going to be added to the jail would be more than offset by the increased suffering that the transportation of people to court appearances is going to cause for the inmates in the jail. They're going to be missing meals. They're going to be confined in small spaces for long times, for a long period of time. It just is very unpleasant experience, just even being transported from the jail right near them. It's also going to increase cost for the city. And, I just can't see how we can't just invest the money in economic development and obviate the need for a new jail.
Yeah,
Thanks, Tom.
it's a popular topic for sure. But look, we haven't even decided a location for the new jail yet. We don't know how close in or far out it's going to be. I think there are some assumptions that are being made. We don't know yet, and that's something that we'll work on, with the sheriff and with whoever brings us proposals. This is a long way from being a done deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to let you go. Mayor Donna Deegan, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Ann.
All right. Up next, Event Tacklings are backing a fundraising concert tagged Next Gen Mental Health Advocacy. Here to tell us about it is Gabrielle Magid. Gabrielle Magid, founder and CEO of Stronger Than Stigma Incorporated. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Thank you so much, Ann. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're also joined by Daniel Johns and David Johns, who perform as the Johns twins and just so happen to be twins. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So, Gabrielle, you started this work really in a grassroots fashion, almost kind of through your own experience and then broadening it. What was the need that you saw that you were responding to when you decided to create this group?
So it's wild, but we started in 2013. I was still a student at the University of Florida, and we call it Stronger Than Stigma for a reason. This stigma against reaching out for help was really what was keeping people in those states of anxiety, depression, you name it. And on a college campus in particular, it's like a microcosm for the population at large. So I was seeing it firsthand amongst my classmates. I personally struggle with anxiety and depression and had kind of kept it, to myself, more like a family secret than something that I was going to post about on social media. But in college, when I started really owning my story and sharing, like, this is something that I've dealt with, I found that not only did people have stories to tell me in return, but a lot of times that was their first time sharing as well. So the need was really about creating something to make seeking and talking about mental health cool. Nobody was really plugging that gap for the millennial generation. And now we're seeing, Gen Z found TikTok and whoever comes next. So we've rebranded to saying Next Gen Mental Health Advocacy because we really want to help people adult.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people think of certainly millennials as big on sharing and believe that the stigma that has surrounded mental health for so long had dissipated, that was something that attached to earlier generations and that, younger people, certainly millennials and Gen Z were kind of more comfortable in that, in talking about those things and addressing those things and treating and seeking care for mental illnesses.
So I'm really proud to hear you say that because in 2013, that just wasn't the case. So we actually started completely online because the idea was millennials are, on the internet and you feel safer behind your screen than you do probably, in a room full of people. So could we attract you with a meme that might be, tongue in cheek about depression or, an article that you might not find on your own. And so what was wild was we had messages come in from around the world asking, like, where do you meet? How do I get involved? And at that point, we knew, okay, A, wow, we got to get together in real life. And then also B, there's a market for this. There's a need. The stigma, I'm proud to hear you say now, like, oh, millennials, there's less of a stigma. When I gave my TED talk, I mentioned, our grandparents denied that these issues even existed. Our parents snuck off to therapy. We're busy, growing into our genetics and our environment and saying, like, what the heck? Why can't we talk about therapy and who do you go to and let's trade tips? And so millennials are really the generation that have paved the way. I always think Gen Z is even better at sharing and maybe oversharing. So I think our work is working.
Yeah. And you began this effort at UF. You initially kind of were proposing the campus, embrace this. And you initially, they kind of didn't. Can you explain, like, what changed, how you were able to, because now, that has become something that, was really, I think, adopted and endorsed, um, which was a great success. But it
Yes.
wasn't initially like that.
No, it was so funny. I was telling Dave and Daniel in the lobby. Originally, the idea was just a campus-wide campaign. Can we, and I joke, it was like fridge magnets. Can we put the information somewhere where a student could find all of the listing of the resources, the phone numbers or how to reach out, and make it readily available, because at UF in particular, it's a beautiful campus, and they spent millions of dollars building this beautiful counseling and wellness center, but you needed a bus to get there. Like, the campus is so big. And that to me was also a representation of the stigma. They wanted to give you privacy to go and get this help, talk to a counselor. But at the same time, it meant that it was hidden away. And so students didn't necessarily know that it existed, that it was free and available to them. And it was just waiting for them, to discover upon it. But I was like, what? Skip the discovery phase. Like, just let's send you there, make it easy. And so pitched that idea to the dean. And, the response I got was pretty much join something pre-existing and make change from the inside. And that didn't really sit well with me. I did try, didn't make it onto student council at the time, and was just like, you know what? I'm here, but I can go above his head. Like, I can make a nonprofit. I can study and go to seminars and figure out how to really do this, and then declared a nonprofit organizational minor and really used Stronger Than Stigma as my case study for
Which
the
is
rest of my time there.
a really extraordinary accomplishment too, as such a young person to be, creating that powerful nonprofit. I want to ask a little bit about the music, Daniel and David, and how your kind of how you came to being a partner in this upcoming event. It's benefiting Stronger Than Stigma. It's a musical event, but it's also a conversation, an opportunity for people to kind of connect on a deeper level. Is there something? Are you just playing the music, or do you bring some, interest, background, shared experience to this event?
Daniel, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to take it?
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I would say yes and no. So as far as the cause goes, I mean, our music absolutely does tie into mental health. So that is the yes part. Even our latest single, Ain't No Use, it's a song about overcoming narratives. Some of the narratives are self-imposed. And sometimes people say negative things to us and we cling on to those, and Ain't No Use is about overcoming those things. So yes. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and immediately retract the no. I think it's just a hard yes. I'm talking myself in circles. I'm like, no, yeah. I mean, so we were asked to be a part of this.
That was the song we were hearing as we came in, right? That's your new single,
Yes.
Ain't No Use. Okay.
Absolutely. We were asked to be a part of this through Dennis Negrin, and he runs what is it?
Bold City Circuit.
Bold City Circuit. And we have never played Blue Jay Listening Room before, and everything just lined up, and we were just so excited to be a part of it. We looked up Stronger Than Stigma. We are behind the cause 100%. It's truly impressive. So yeah, I mean, everything about this event we are all in on, and we are very passionate about it. We're very excited.
And so how do you plan your musical element around what is going to be a very serious conversation, Daniel? I mean, are you going to kind of play and then take a break, or do you sort of hang out while this conversation is happening?
Oh, we intend to hang out while the conversation is happening. I think we're going to do a 40-minute set. Also, Jessica Hope is playing.
Yes.
She's
Right.
a fantastic artist, beautiful voice, wonderful music. Yeah, we're going to do a 40-minute set, and yeah.
Yeah, and also, you might not know this, but you will be part of the conversation.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're the-
Yeah, that's
the
perfectly okay.
panel,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say so serious necessarily. Like, if anybody's worried, that it might be like a support group or something that makes them cry in their tissues, the point is really to normalize these conversations. So by highlighting local talent, who's stories are so much a part of their musical expression, their artistic expression. We're really highlighting that mental health is part of everything. And yes, we curate what goes on the stage, but we're all about helping people feel the power of knowing they're not alone. So just by being in the audience, you're gonna feel that vibration, like that feeling of like, wow, everybody in this room came for a reason.
Yes.
Whether to support y'all or Jessica or Stronger Than Stigma. And that's so cool. And the other thing that's really cool is that it's a team effort between 3 millennial-owned businesses in Jacksonville. So we have Kara Murphy of Blue Jay Listening Room, who is amazing and an advocate for artists like you've never seen. And then Dennis as well of Bold City Circuit, whose job is to place bands in living rooms for an intimate experience. So, he's our musical wonder, knows the Johns twins, and
He's got all the connections.
oh my God, he's amazing. I don't know when he sleeps.
And you talk about kind of normalizing the conversation around mental health, and you also advise people, through the information that you put out there about how to have these conversations with and among themselves. So there's not necessarily in a forum like this, but in terms of communicating with friends who may be expressing, an issue, talking about trying to, not try to cure them or try to talk them out of it, that you're really trying to provide a listening ear and allow them an opportunity to express what they're feeling.
100%. I think a lot of people assume that if somebody comes to them with a problem, it's their job to solve it. And our point is nobody has all the solutions. But what we know that we can provide is that listening ear and that active listening of like truly caring about the person that comes to you and saying, I've got your back no matter what you decide to do. As far as how you seek treatment, where you seek treatment, if it's crystals or if it's pharmaceuticals or whatever works for you, we're just huge advocates for professional help.
Sure. And music can also be really helpful for people processing all kinds of emotions, including, any feelings that people are having, whether it's, depression or anxiety. I mean, music is a great resource for people in that way as well.
Agreed. Music is a mood altering drug. That's why people, relate to it. And I'm a